Hello.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
That was partly to test my speaker. I wasn't hearing anything. Did you all just get a whole bunch of rain?
It's still
Yes.
pouring here.
Yes.
It's pretty light here now.
I like your shirt.
Thanks.
That's fun. Well, we certainly haven't had a lot of rain. I clocked an inch as of this morning, and now we're getting even more.
What are you using to measure your rain?
I have a rain gauge that my sister gave me, and I don't know if you've come to my house, you've seen the little copper mushroom lights that I have.
Yeah.
Copper mushroom, and you just put the little glass tube down in it. It's very cute. And I love being able to go out there and check how much rain has come. It's a fun thing.
Well, Marianne, we lost some trees.
Did you?
The library did.
Yes.
Drove
Oh,
by the
yes, we
library and they're
certainly did.
gone.
Okay.
We were out of town for a week and came home, and life was different here in Shutesbury.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the lot looks completely different with those trees taken down.
Yes.
It's easier to picture the library in there now.
It is. Yes.
Where's that?
Hi.
Hello.
We can't find the minutes. I found them on my phone, but it takes so long for me to download them.
I just forwarded it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was scrambling. I have them, but
It was such a crazy day. I just didn't get to it.
yeah. I feel you.
So I sent them to Michelle. Kate, do you need them too?
Nope, I
Okay.
have them. Thanks.
They're not showing up yet.
I just forwarded the email that Mel sent this morning. Let's see. Yeah, let me make sure I sent it to you.
Okay. It's probably, I think I see it now.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Okay. I had suggested one change about, she says that the food is being provided by the OPM, Atkins and Tandem Bagel. And so the OPM paid for the food, which we ordered from Atkins and Tandem Bagel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Atkins and Tandem Bagel didn't donate the food. And I replied to Mel and said that. So that's one correction that I found.
I'm sorry. Hi everybody. I'm a little bit behind the times here. But I think we have an agenda. I think I'm chairing tonight's meeting.
Yep, you said you
Um,
would.
I did.
Do you need the agenda?
No, I got the agenda. I just want to make sure that you're taking notes
Yes,
tonight.
I will, yes.
Awesome. Okay, then we need to like be called to order
Yeah.
and start the meeting and note that we're recording. And hi everybody. Happy Monday, and it's good to see y'all, and so glad that we have a quorum to do the work we're going to do tonight. So the first item is to review the minutes. I just wanted to back us up a step. But I know that Michelle's peering at them now. Maybe some of us have had a chance to look already. We've already got one correction on who paid for the food versus purveyed the food. So I'm sure you're capturing that, Michelle.
I didn't see anything else.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything looks good to me. Yeah, after, except for the change that Marianne mentioned, so that's fine.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah, I read it over. It looks fine to me too.
okay. Can I have a motion then, please?
I move we approve the minutes as corrected.
A second.
Terrific. We'll do roll call. So, hey Pam,
Hi,
and you say,
Pam Susky.
and
Here,
you say yes, right?
yes.
Okay. And hey Brad,
Brad, aye.
and hey Michelle,
Hi,
and I also say yes. So the passes.
people that are,
Uh,
the people that are absent, should we need to say that?
Well, we usually do like at the top of the minutes,
Yeah.
who's present. So we'll just acknowledge there that Mel and Elizabeth can't be here tonight or aren't here
Right.
tonight. All right, first agenda item, one down. And then we need to take a decision or hear from Marianne, kind of like where we are with the bylaw update and what we need to do in order to get to our next steps on that. Because at the last meeting, we agreed that we would review and vote on the changes. So Marianne, what
So-
would be supportive of getting there now? Thanks.
Right. So there were a few just mass general law questions. And so so after that meeting, I focused on the groundbreaking and then I went on vacation. And then on Friday, I tried to go onto the state website to confirm the mass general laws. And for some reason, the website wouldn't load. And I tried a couple of times throughout the day. And then I tried getting in touch with Grace, who often knows about those kinds of things, but she was already gone or didn't have time to get back to me. So, and then I didn't have time to, I don't want to rush those things. I like to have, so I set aside time and then couldn't get to the website.
Yeah.
When, and I, no matter how there are links to it from the MBLC website, I couldn't get to it through those links. I couldn't get to it just, so, so something was up with that. And so I think probably it can just wait until next month, just so that we can have accurate, that so I can verify that those MGLs that are listed are accurate.
Yes, so it sounds like we need because we did list this on our agenda. I think we need a motion to table the bylaws until the next meeting or whenever Marianne lets us know she's had a chance to look at those MGL citations up, whichever comes first, something like that.
I move we table discussion of the bylaws until we're able to get to review the references to state law.
Perfect. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. So Pam, what do you say?
I'm sorry, I'm
We have to
not
do
still
it.
figuring this out.
I know.
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
And hi.
Is it aye
Yes.
or yes?
It's actually yes, I believe.
Okay.
I was just talking with one of our Gov Affairs people about this, the distinction between I and yes. I believe it's properly yes, but whatever, it'll work for us. So,
Yes.
and Brad,
Yes.
okay. And Michelle,
Yes.
and I say yes, so that passes unanimously with quorum present. All right, y'all, moving right along on our agenda. I did just wonder, I know you just got back from from vacation, Marianne. But I did just wonder if there was anything that you wanted to report to the trustees.
Yeah, I have a few notes. So you were all at the groundbreaking ceremony, which was wonderful. And I just wanted to say that Penny Jakes and Elaine Paleo really were, the heavy lifters in organizing that event, and that there were 26 volunteers who helped by making the program, setting up the tents, arranging for the sound system, which involved 2 on-site meetings before the event, hauling stuff there and then packing it all up and hauling it back to town hall and the library and a shed at the elementary school, going to gather the food, making a gluten-free treat and baking it and bringing it, uh, putting together all of the beautiful flowers. It was handing out programs and making the morning run smoothly. It was a really wonderful event supported by a lot of people, and everybody was happy to help and make it all happen. And I don't think it could have gone better. So I just wanted to say that. And then I also wanted to say that, Michelle, your remarks were wonderful.
Yeah.
Right now, I couldn't say a word that you said, but I remember being proud while you were talking.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Well, it was all true. It was like I knew
yes,
how we had worked so hard and everybody
yes,
worked so hard
yes,
and kept a lot
yes,
of priorities in mind. So
yes,
thank
but
you.
delivered in a positive, not that I would have expected anything else, but just, just delivered in a positive, friendly, happy way, it was just
It was a
great.
wonderful day, wasn't
Yes,
it? Oh my.
yes. Um,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
have to second with what you just said. I feel like it was just so beautiful what everybody pulled together. I mean, it was so professionally done. It looked so wonderful. It was so welcoming and such a nice, happy event, wasn't it?
it really
It
was.
was.
It was, yes. So while, this library construction is happening and that groundbreaking ceremony was planned, we've also got summer reading happening at the library. And so most of the programs were well attended and appreciated. I planned this thing called the Furry Tales Library Hour. So we had 2 therapy dogs who came, and kids could come and read and interact with them. And then I had a little reading game that we played and other activities. And the first one went great. There were 22 people who came, and then it rained. And we were trying to do these things outside at the library. And then it rained the next 3 weeks. And so we had just one family that came for 2 of the weeks, and then the last week nobody came. But I have a new teen volunteer, and she helped out with those events, which was great. Her name is Trixie. And then those events are over, and she came in today for a couple of hours. And the great thing about teen volunteers, you can show them something once, and they just get it, you know, and they're, especially if it's technology related. Um, and, um, and they, so I think that she can come in one more time before school starts, and then she'll get her school year up and running, and then we'll see if she comes in. But I think she'll be sort of a regular helping at library programs and events. And that's a really nice thing. It's nice to have a new teenager involved. Um, so that's all good. And then we had, let's see, while I was away on vacation, the well permit came in from DEP. So, you know, the well was dug, and then this 24-hour pump test was done with sampling at different points throughout that testing. And then a permit application, quite extensive permit application, was sent off to DEP at the beginning of June. And the permit arrived, I think it arrived like last Wednesday or so. So it's nice to have the, you know, that public water supply permitted by DEP. That was, you know, just an outlying detail that we were waiting to have. It wasn't that once a permit application is submitted to DEP, they have 72 days to respond. And I don't even think it took the 72 days. So that was great. And then we had our first construction meeting today. So the architect, the contractor, the OPM, and me, and then a representative from the building committee will be meeting weekly. We'll alternate with virtual meetings and in-person meetings. And then maybe more in-person meetings as needed. But so far, the erosion control has been installed. Most of the trees that need to come down have been removed. And trailers have been delivered. And there's on one side of the site closest to the eastern boundary, they have shored up an area with pretty big gravel, and that's where the construction trucks will enter and leave the site. And then they're working on getting a 60-foot long trailer was delivered today, and they need different equipment to get it in place. So they're gonna hopefully accomplish that tomorrow. There are a few more trees to come down, and the highway department's going to be doing that. It's about 24 small trees that weren't part of the scope of work of the contractor, but are part of sort of the scope of work of the project. So the highway department will be doing that this week, but it's so small, it won't be noticeable. I've heard from a number of people that the tree removal was very loud. But most of the people, when they're telling me, they're saying, "Oh, I heard the tree removal from my house. I was cheering." So there's a lot of excitement about the project. So for construction, the goal is to get the site ready so that they can get the foundation and the slab completed by the end of October. So it's not going to look like a whole lot for quite some time, but there's work happening. So that's what was on my notes.
Great.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have questions for Mary Ann? All right, appreciate the report. Okay. Library assistant salary. Can I ask before we start that everyone maybe had a chance to look at or at least received the document?
I'm just starting to look at it now. So maybe Mary Ann wants to talk us through it.
Right.
Yeah, maybe who has not had a chance to just look at it yet?
I haven't.
Okay, maybe we do this. Maybe we take like 3 minutes for people just to skim it, and then Mary Ann, you can sort of walk us through the
Okay.
discussion. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sure.
Great, thanks. How are we doing? Would another minute or so be helpful?
I'm all set.
Yeah, I think I'm all set too.
Brad too?
I'm all set.
All right, awesome. Thanks. Mary Ann, can we turn the floor
Sure.
over to you?
Yeah. So we made our budget request in the fall, and we don't ever add raises in when we make our budget request. We have always just let the town add those in after the fact. And then, so we make our budget request, and then I check in with Becky throughout the months afterwards to ask if our budget request is approved, and if, and I always ask her to let me see it before the final documents are done. Cause there was one year sometime in the past 15 years where a mistake was made. So I did that this time. Um, and, I made several requests to see the document before it was finalized. But time got away from us because Becky's also a very busy person. So when the final budget came out just before town meeting, I saw that the number that they put in was, so we requested $22,176. And I saw that the number that they put in was 21,796. And I can't, doing the math in different ways, I can't figure out how Becky came up with that number. But
It
wi-
looks to me almost like it's a typo. You
it
know,
could
you
be,
look at the
yes,
last digits, they're the
yes.
same, but in the wrong place.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be something like that. It could be, she thinks that she may have started um with last year's appropriation. So anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's not a huge mistake, and clearly the intent was to give us our funding.
Yeah.
So, so then before town meeting, I said, well, what are we gonna do about this? And she goes, oh, don't worry about it. I'm gonna get you your money. And I thought there was a way that it could be done at town meeting, but there wasn't. But there's a thing that can happen where at the end of the year, if you need money in a budget line, you can go to the finance committee who has some reserves and you can make a request.
Yeah.
So that's what she was relying on to cover a shortfall if we had one at the end of the year. But I said to her, well, if there's going to be a special town meeting, can we just ask for this money? And she said yes. And so and then I spoke to Rita Farrell, who's on the select board, and she also agreed that this would be a good thing to ask for at a special town meeting. And there is going to be one toward the end of November. So if you agree, I would recommend making a budget request in November at that special town meeting. It's a small amount of money. And then, then we'll have sort of an appropriate budget. Um, and, and I think that's a better way than to wait and see if we need it at the end of the year and ask for the finance committee for reserves when they might not have them because that account that they have is not infinite. So then I started to do the math. And when you do that math from the 22,000 to the 21,000, it's a $380 shortfall.
Mhm.
And then the town raises this year were 3.32%. So that is that 736. And then, so that's where I came up with that next number, that 1,116 and change. And then every once in a while, we have to do this correction because there's some money in this account to cover my vacation and sick time. And then what happens is when the town gives raises, that cuts into those hours that are appropriated, plus the amount of vacation time I earn increases a little bit every year. So I tried going back today and finding the last time we did this. And I think it was quite some time ago because it wasn't in 2020 or 2021. So I think it must have been before that. And so right now there's about 50 hours. If we asked for the 1,116, we would have about 50 hours coverage. But then in that budget, but then I looked at, what we really need just for vacation time and I get about 5.5 weeks vacation. And I think it's fair to estimate about 15 hours a week. Because not all of the hours I work need to be covered. And so that comes out to almost $1,500. And so you see all the math, and then I would ask if we're going to send this document to the select board, that Brad spends a little bit of time with it, so that it makes sense to other people's brains and not mine. And so the amount that I think we should ask for is that $1,653.38. It covers the library assistant salary line. the weekend circulation clerk, and then 15 hours a week for 5.5 weeks of my vacation time. And, I don't always take all of my vacation time. Town employees are allowed to carry over 4 weeks, and that COVID year, I didn't take any vacation time because I didn't travel. So I've been carrying over 4 weeks since that 2020 year. And then this past year, I did take all of my vacation time. Plus I took maybe 2 days. Well, I might have taken I'm not carrying over quite 4 weeks, but if I were planning to take all of the vacation time entitled to me, I would need more than that, but I'm not planning to take more than 5.5 weeks over this next year when we're building a library. So we don't need to worry about it. And then, if something happens and I end up having to use sick time, then we would have to figure something else out, but
So it's both, it's vacation and sick, whatever you need to use, is that?
right, well, but right now it doesn't have any, I'm just adding 5.5 weeks at 15 hours.
Hmm,
Um,
to cover for you.
and then maybe in next year's budget, we could ask for a little bit more padding in that budget line.
Yeah.
But this seems like a good place to start.
Marianne, I have some questions.
Okay,
I think there are three pieces. The first one, I agree with Pam. It looks just like a typo. The 380 shortfall. And then for the raise, I thought the town added that itself separately. I thought that was in the town's salary budget somewhere. So I
they
wasn't,
usually add them to each line in the town meeting budget.
and so they didn't this year add. So that's sort of a second error in just the process of creating.
Right.
And then the last one is the vacation time. And it seems to me we had gone through this. I agree. It's like a foreign concept trying to get this, we go through this, we say we really need this, and then it sort of happens and then it gets forgotten.
Right.
I didn't think it was as long ago as before the pandemic, but given the pandemic, my sense of timing is really off. But anyway, all of this sounds familiar. It would be great if we could just sit down and briefly go through it sometime, and then I'll make sure I know it well enough in case a question comes up.
That would be great.
I have a couple of comments, if I may, about this. And one is that in the language of a slightly previous political era, either could apply. There is essentially what we have here is a mandate that is unfunded. You have a right accorded to you by the town of a certain amount of sick and annual leave every year, which we are not budgeting to cover for the service. And that means we have a mandate to provide the service without the funding to do so, and without a regular, like, incremental checkpoint where we're going to make sure that we do that. If we're going to try once again to socialize that idea at a town meeting, I think we should add some sick time.
Okay.
I really do. I feel like the idea that you are somehow entitled to sick time, but if that you actually take it, there's no library service available. Who the heck? We have a really strong case right now to make about, making sure that library service is continuous as we move into a new building. No offense, but you and I are about the same age and we are moving towards retirement, and we need to be able to plan for our sick time without stressing out over it. It's not okay, actually. So
Right.
these are a couple things that I feel fairly strongly about. And I would like to consider with Rita, with Becky, with whoever other wise souls there are, whether we could take steps at this town meeting to do that, and then whether we could add some kind of multiplier into our budget spreadsheet that automatically triggers
Yeah.
a
Good idea.
formula of here's how we should anticipate upping this appropriation every year until it actually matches the leave to which you are entitled.
Right.
So,
And I
Yeah.
started to put in sick time. And then I
Mm.
was like, well, how much sick time do I put? So we get town employees, I believe, get 3 weeks a year of sick time. And then I think that
That should accrue
accumulates if you
too.
don't use it. And
Yes.
so I said, well, what if I was out sick for 9 weeks, right? But what if we started with that? What if we started with that 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And because that, seems like a good place to start.
When their employees are getting, excuse me, that makes total sense.
Okay.
You have to
So,
enjoy, you
so
should
I
enjoy.
could do that math and add that in. Um, and, and then, and I do think this is something that, I think when I started, I got 2 weeks vacation. And it goes up, it goes up a little bit every year. Um, and uh, and there should be, reliable funding for the coverage. Like the salary lines should be from a town appropriated line and not some other source of funding that isn't, isn't sustainable. It should be it isn't a whim of the state government. I can remember one year when we had a 2/3 drop in state aid. And so I think that this is a really reasonable ask, even if we add, so that would be 45 hours at the library weekend
That's it, right?
circulation clerk
Yeah.
salary rate. Um, and so it's still, I think, is going to be under $2,000. And it gives us a sort of a secure operating budget. And then I can figure out how many hours. You don't get quite a day, you get a certain percentage of a day, but we can figure out what that is and then just add it to it every year when we're making our budget request.
You mean,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Are you talking about sick time? You don't get a whole day if you're sick?
Oh, no,
Oh,
the vacation time.
Vacation? Oh, okay.
So like, after next year, I'll get another, I don't know, it's like, I call it a day, but it's like three,
3/4 or
8/10 of a
something.
day or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
You really should have sick time as a town employee. I mean, you
Oh,
should
yeah, well, I have sick time. It's just that
lump
I
together.
don't have a budget to cover
Yeah.
for somebody else to cover for me.
But
If
but
I'm
that
sick.
should be, yeah.
Yeah.
I have another question. One is like, how does the highway department deal with this? Because stuff has to be plowed, even if one of the people who's on the highway department is sick.
Right, so they bring in the other people or it doesn't get
Happen,
plowed,
yeah.
Yeah,
Or
so,
someone drives when they're sick. We can know that's happened.
right,
yeah,
uh,
that's gotta be true.
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
well, I mean, let me just ask, is this an approach that trustees support?
Absolutely.
Where we have this incremental increase in vacation time for appropriate coverage every year, and it's just part of our budget request process?
And
Yes.
someone has to cover the sick time, whether it's us, our budget or the town, but somebody needs to. Which means they need to come up with more money for us.
Well,
It's not that much.
just to be clear, we're talking about vacation time. We're talking about vacation coverage and sick coverage.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
just
Yeah,
make
yeah.
absolutely clear that we're
Yeah,
all in the
yeah.
same place.
Separate
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
We're not talking about increasing pay or vacation time or sick time. We're only talking about
I'll bring it.
including the coverage for that time
Yeah.
Right,
that has been
Yeah.
absent in the budget.
right.
Yes,
right. And the other thing is too, sometimes I need to attend meetings or things during the days that I would cover. And so some of that I think of is, meeting coverage. I can't always be at the library someplace. Sometimes I need to be someplace else. And it's not just, there are certainly a lot of meetings because of the new building. But there have always been meetings and they're not always at the whim of my schedule, right? So some of it is when I was calculating that 15 hours a week, I included that too. And
Right.
certainly, the highway superintendent and the police chief and the fire chief all take time to attend meetings
Right.
in the course of their work. And Becky, we all do.
Yeah,
So.
okay. I'm a little bit unclear on what we should do as sort of procedure. This is a budget request that's gonna go in, well, it's gonna get voted on, we hope in November. Brad or Marion, can you do we need to just do some further calculations, formulate what the warrant article would be? Like, what do we need to do as a body?
Right, so what we need to do is just add that last number, have Brad double check all my math. And then we just need to, and then I can email the select board with the request on behalf of the trustees. Rita said to just send a request to the select board.
Okay.
Do we as trustees need to see it after this next round, or is it sufficient to say this is the intention and leave it to Marianne talking with me? Do we have time if we wait till our September meeting to approve it, Marianne?
We have time.
Why don't we do that then, just to be sure that everybody's really clear, and then we have the rest of the trustees here too. That's what I'd like to propose. Not that I don't trust your math, but I just think, having somebody talking it through with somebody else and then making sure everybody else understands as well, because we're missing two people tonight.
To me, it's I agree. I would also say it's the sense of the meeting that we all very much agree with the intention of what Marianne brought forth.
Yes.
Yeah, so we could go that way, and but I also, there's a way that we could say that this is within the role and responsibility of the treasurer. And as the person who puts together the budget request, and we could have an agreement tonight that we will, just leave this in the hands of the treasurer and the director and confirm it or something like that. I don't necessarily think that that would take an action. It would probably be best for protocol if we had if that was the way we wanted to go, sort of a two-step thing is y'all figure it out and then we'll come back and just, as we've said, and just and socialize and approve. But I feel like it's just making super clear because we could just decide to delegate and entrust to the work of those two folks. Do you know what I mean?
You could delegate and then just review.
I think that's it. Review and approve, advise and consent.
So tonight we'll do a motion to delegate it to Marianne and I.
Please, yeah. Could someone do that? Pam or Michelle?
that's really come one. I make a motion that we delegate the finances of figuring out the total with vacation and sick time to Marianne and Fred.
Thank you. I think it might want to be coverage for vacation and sick
Okay.
time.
That's how I wrote it in the minutes. I agree. I think it needs to be.
Okay,
Coverage.
thanks, Michelle.
And other salary adjustments, because the first
Yes.
one is not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll second that. And then what are we gonna do? Just, that's it?
I think we have to vote on the motion, and then I think we just put review and approve budget request, supplemental budget request on our next agenda,
Okay,
so that we get all of this. Does that make sense to everybody?
yeah.
Yes.
You're saying it much more succinctly, but that's exactly what I meant too, that I feel like,
Okay,
just to review it, to make sure we're all clear with what I'm
yes,
saying. So yes, I agree. Okay, so review and update, whoops, review and approve, sorry, not update. The budget request at the next, on the next agenda
yeah,
for special town meeting.
yeah.
All right. Great. Oh, do I need to roll call or no? Because we're not approving it.
Did I have a second, or could you read out?
I second it, yeah.
Michelle seconded it.
Okay, great. Then yes, roll call, please. Michelle,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I say yes, Kate also. So that's good. Thank you, folks. My favorite typo of the month has been any other bushiness. Someone put an inadvertent H in business in our agenda, and it made me very happy because I was watching the trees come down and thinking, is there any other bushiness we need to deal with? But is there any other business we need to do tonight?
Or bushiness, either one.
Or bushiness?
Not that I know of.
Okay. One more call. All right, then we need to set the time for our next meeting, which typically would be. Wow, why have I got a multiple year mental block? Third Monday of the month, is that what we do?
The 16th?
16th of
Yeah,
September.
that would be the 16th.
Any objection to the 16th?
No,
Nope.
that works for me.
Let it be then.
Okay.
Then I will just thank everybody, and we are adjourned. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Yeah. Good
Very
night.
neat.
Night.
Night.
Good night, everybody.